Hi everyone, my name is Diane and I'm a witch and welcome to my channel Witchcraft is Political. So, at the outset, I would like to say that if you do not like witches or if you are scared of witches or if you find witchcraft to be something you do not want to be involved in, please, this channel is not for you. And I urge you to seek other channels on YouTube, but this channel is not for you. Now, we are today at a full moon, which is the full moon in Leo, the wolf moon, right? The moon when the wolves howl at the moon for their pack. And this full moon is supposed to symbolize love and calling love into our hearts. And today, in today's reading, I kind of want to talk about love. So, love. That's such a big topic, right? And weirdly enough, it's a big topic, but also not something which we tend to talk about these days, or at least in the more, let's say, I don't know, people who want to seem like adults seem to refrain from talking about love. This has been my experience. I don't know, maybe your experience has been different, in which case, congratulations. But my experience has really been that if you are an adult, you don't want to talk about frivolous things like love. Or if you want to be taken seriously, you don't talk about love, because love is like women's game, right? And it's often seen to be frivolous. And I think, at least where I was growing up, which was in South Asia, I always had this impression that around me there was this understanding that love is too unpractical, or like too impractical to talk about. So if you want to have respect of other adults, you don't talk about love somehow. And I think this is very tied to like this persecution of witches, right? Like, because if you because love is what disrespectable women talk about. Because if you had any sense of sense, or if you had any sense in you, or if you had any sort of self-respect, oh yeah, or if you had any sort of like, even, what do they say it, shame, if you had any sort of shame, which, at least in the kind of patriarchy I was growing in, it was like considered to be a sort of desirable trait for women to have, shame. And so you don't, if you are like, if you talk about love only if you are a shameless woman, yeah. And you, at least, even when I mean, now my context is very different, and I live in like Central Europe, pinnacle of Western society, and like, I still feel, however, and now here it's a different version of patriarchy. So it's more like, if like basically you don't talk about love in a work setting, right? Like you kind of keep mum. You keep your emotions to yourself because emotions are disruptive. Emotions will kind of make you an object to not be taken seriously because there's too much. There's just too much, and like this is the kind of like feminine or feminized behavior which we are kind of not allowed to indulge in or talk about. And there are all of these ideas about love which are just not to be taken into the public context. So like love here, I find like there's like in Western societies there seem to be like a strict division, and this is a form patriarchy seems to take here. Like there's a strict division between like the public and private. I wouldn't say this was absent where I was growing up, but it had a different flavor, let's say. Different diverse flavors of patriarchy, right? So here it's more about, in Western society, it seems to be more about, particularly in Central Europe, in Germany where I am, it seems to be more about like the division between the private and public, which is like really, really strong. So it's very clear what belongs to the private sphere of your life and what belongs to the public sphere of your life. And you are not supposed to mix the two. And if you mix the two, then it's somehow, a little, what's the word? It's a little crass. Crass. Am I saying it in the right pronunciation? I'm not even sure because there's a German word crass which doesn't mean the same thing. Uh, like it's the word I'm looking for, CRASS. Just not uh, not classy. Yeah. If you mix the private and the public affairs, it's just not classy. So I just am so baffled sometimes, and like a lot of the times, why people think why love is so why are people so scared of love, I guess, and all the emotions which come with it? Because I guess people are scared with emotions, and because love brings in so many emotions that, everyone wants to kind of like not talk about it, shy away from it. Yeah. And today I just want to explore with this wolf moon because the wolf howls for love, and so do we howl for love, both as collective and as individuals. Yet we never, like, at least the wolf howls for it in real, outwardly, but yet we as humans never seem to, like, cry out loud or, like, state our needs in love or state our needs of love, you know, uh, in a very clear fashion. And I I just feel as a witch, love has been such a core part of my life and of my own journey of self discovery. And what is love? I think a lot of people think about love simply as, like, I don't know, finding a romantic partner and settling down, having a life together. But for me, and I think core to witchcraft and core even to other movements, from my opinion, like queer. I mean, I cannot, of course, stand up for the entire queer community and say something, but my own personal perception of queerness has always understood love as a very transformative and revolutionary power, because it doesn't just change the world, it changes you. Love changes you, and that's like so potent because it's so hard to change ourselves. If you have ever tried to really look within, I'm sure that attempt has been fraught with fear. And oftentimes it's even hard to know what do we want to change in ourselves, like, or what is the change which we can bring in ourselves to change the world, right? Because as a light worker, you have to be the light to bring the world light. You don't bring the world light by yourself being in darkness, right? And that light, of course, is the light of love. So you have to be the love to live in a world or to create a world which is loving. And right now we look around us, I think, and we see so much strife and so much doubt and uncertainty. And more than that, I feel so much fear and hatred. And I just wonder where all of this is going. Um, because that, like, at the same time there's so many people who say and who not just say, I do think they really want to change the world and they want to live in a better world. But we are always, whenever we think about revolutions, whenever we think about change, we are always looking externally. And I'm not saying that's not important. For Of course, there are institutions which need to change. There are places and structures like patriarchy, capitalism, imperialism, warmongering, um transphobia, ableism, all of which needs to change. Casteism, racism, right? I mean, you name it. Uh, Capitalism, if I didn't already mention it. You name it, and there's like something to change, and there's institutions to change. But like when we think about how are we gonna do this, or we just like immediately, our first instinct is to immediately look at someone else, someone external who's the culprit, who's the oppressor, and like point fingers. And I'm not saying this sort of like criticism is wrong. Like, I think it's quite important to understand what is wrong with the system, or even understand in the first place that there is something wrong with the system, and we are not supposed to live like this. Humans are not supposed to live like this. Earth is not supposed to be treated like this. So of course, there is a need to understand that there are many things wrong externally, but to actually bring about that change, we can't we can't just force. And here the just is important. We can't only force others to bend to our will, right? To create the world we want to create. Even if we have a very good idea, we have like the best idea in the world about the kind of world we want to live in, there's someone outside of us who does not agree, right, with what we imagine. We can't just force them, or we can't just bend them to our will to create that world, right? We need to because the thing is, when we do that, we end up becoming like that, exactly like them. So, and that is like the opposite of the world we want to create. I don't know if I'm making any sense right now, or I'm just like speaking into the void. These videos are quite weird to make, honestly. Like, uh, it's quite an experience. But anyhow, my point was that we have to to bring about real change, sustainable change, we can't just stop at changing external things and institutions and materials. We have to look within and see what we can change within ourselves. Again, and this is an important point, I'm not saying you only change your inside and the outside doesn't change and the same system should go. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that you only change outside and the inside doesn't need to change. I'm saying that the both internal and external, the sharp divide between the internal and external needs to go away. That binary needs to go away. And we need to actually consider what the heck we are doing. Because we can't have a sustainable, externally changed world when we ourselves have not changed when we are living in that world, This is why all those revolutions of the past, in a way, keep propping up new oppressors. It's always been like new oppressors, right? Why? Because not enough of us are looking within when the so-called revolution happens to understand that to live in a new world, we have to also be new. We have to also be birthed new. The new world cannot be birthed without us being birthed anew, right? And how will that happen? How will we birth anew? Through love. Yeah, through love, guys. So, and here is where, like, to me personally, the idea of love as this very, very revolutionary thing comes up. It's because love is not just, some sort of abstract feeling or emotions and ideas, right? Because, I mean, it is that, but it also, the line between emotion and matter is also not a hard line, right? Because what we feel, we manifest materially. And that's the nature of witches, that's the nature of people, that's the nature of humans. So love is that feeling which gives us courage to face ourselves and to grow, to rebirth ourselves. Love, in essence, is a courageous emotion. And by saying this again, I want to emphasize that this doesn't mean that love is just like a political instrument to be used as a word to be thrown around in these like political movements, blah, 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 blah. No, I mean that this I really just like cut to the core of feminism, the personal is the political, and like your very small romantic problems, how is your partner treating you, or when will you find a partner, when will you find love, why does no one seem to love you, what happened to your boyfriend, what happened to your girlfriend, what happened to the person you are dating, why did they ghost you, all those questions, are and all those anxieties are very much part of a political process. So it's not this idea of love which is kind of carried in some abstraction as the poster child of politics. That is one sphere of love, and then there's this other sphere which concerns our tiny romantic problems, or our problems in family and friends and all that, which is considered to be kind of like unclassy, right? Not classy. So this kind of separation about like this amazing spirit, love, politics, transformation, this on the one hand, and on the other hand, insecure women dealing with their love lives, that this separation on the other hand, like it is really the core of our problem with love, and how we cannot, core of our problem of our relationship with love as a practice, and why we cannot seem to translate the amazing transformational power of love into real political change. That's my argument today. So, all right. So, whatever. I will shut up now. And I was thinking that today we will maybe like do some sort of like general messages. So, before going to the specific messages. And in the specific messages, I think I want to do a reading which is simply what is next in love. So if okay, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing. So again, calling spirit to guide me. So we have 3 cards here, and maybe I'm supposed to ask you to pick one card, or I'm supposed to turn them now. I'm totally not fucking sure. Oh, okay. I'm supposed to ask you to pick one now. All right. So here we have 3 cards. Now, I urge you to use your instincts. Let me put some stuff on these 3 cards so maybe it makes it easier to pick. Because sometimes it's hard to pick with just the 3 similar looking backdrops. So, yeah, we have 3 charms on each card now. One is the shell, there's this chestnut, there's another shell. All of these 3 charms were very kindly given to me by a new friend, and I am just like really, really grateful to them. And yeah, if you're watching this, thank you. I think you know who you are. I'm not gonna name names. And thanks, really. They just I really appreciate them. So we have these 3 cards, and you have to pick one card using your instinct. I don't know if you watched the last video, but if you wanna tune into your instinct, which again is a very political practice, always tune into your instinct. Using your instinct is resistance. Not using your intellectual prowess always. Go with your instinct. All right. So close your eyes, clear your mind, meditate, which is just clearing your mind of all thoughts. Do that for like a minute, and you can pause the video here. And when you open your eyes, the first card your eye is drawn to, or you are drawn to, is, even if not by your eye, maybe something else draws you. Whatever is the first card you are drawn to is the right card for you. And then you can go into the description box below and check the link for your reading for the card you picked. And I will see you at your reading. Right? All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and see you at your reading. Ciao.